All right, college baseball fans, obviously, as Monty would say, especially ACC fans. We are, or not we, because Monty is unfortunately not, for whatever reason, not available right now to be with me, but, he is nearby, I guess. But I am in the Florida State radio booth here at the beautiful Chuck. They just wrapped up, obviously, NC State, geez, Texas A&M and Kentucky, but we are going to debrief. We haven't talked in a while, right? So we're going to debrief what happened yesterday as well as today and kind of give you a preview for tomorrow. But before we do, I know Nick will be joining us at some point. Monty, how are you doing today? You feeling better?
I'm clearing my throat. I'm feeling for the most part okay. I'm pretty fatigued, but we grind out as we go anyway. Nick is here with us as well. I'm feeling pretty defeated. Watching some really, really fun teams that I've loved all season get eliminated is not easy. Had a lot of fun covering this NC State team. We'll get into it, but pretty devastated to see another one go down.
Yeah, Nick, just to kind of loop you in, obviously, before I ask you how you're doing, we're gonna debrief yesterday too, Nick, because obviously we didn't get a chance to get together. So we're gonna try to go through those games because those games will help us kind of preview what's going to be tomorrow's only ACC game. So Nick, before we go into all that stuff, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm a little defeated, not only because my pack lost, but I was really hoping that. I mean, this kind of went about as bad as you can think of for the ACC right now, with after tomorrow only being one team left. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little down on my pack. We'll get into that later, but it happens. It's a tough ride for us at the moment.
It only makes sense, Nick, that our two teams are the first two done in the ACC.
Only does, right? But, hey, we're the bottom two in the Jello shots too, so I kind of noticed that trend happening.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But anyways, let's jump right into it. Obviously, yesterday, Florida State takes down Virginia 7-3. The story of the game is Ferrer with his 2 home runs for the Noles. They got a fantastic outing from Carson Dorsey, who went 7, which was huge because they only utilized 2 pitchers yesterday. Between Dorsey and Oxford, we went a total of, those two went the combined 9. Oxford bounced back after a really rough outing in game 1. So that was great to see from him with his 1 hit. And I think only at 1 walk. So huge for him to go to. But, Monty, what were your thoughts? Obviously, we're the Virginia guys of the show. It was a tough one to swallow, especially you were around those guys all spring. Just kind of let's talk about what that was yesterday for Virginia.
Yeah, no, it's tough. The offense couldn't get the job done in Omaha at all. They just weren't able to string hits together, much like we saw happen with NC State. It's just tough. There's not much else, not much insight I can really provide here. I'm just kind of lost for what's happened to their offense that had been one of the best in the country. It kind of fell apart down the stretch, and that's the toughest part.
Yeah, I mean, I think. And shout out to Mike Lewis, who actually tweeted that at us, the 5th quarter page here not too long ago. But, I think the story, and we'll obviously talk about it with NC State today too, but the story for Virginia was they were 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position today. They 1 for 9 against Carolina. They just offensively did not really bring in. I mean, Monty, it was 2 big innings all postseason. That's about it. That was kind of, I would say, almost 60 to 70% of their offense. Just really rough go. Unfortunately, Jay has to leave the game with his little knee injury. When I say little, that sounds awful, but it's not enough. We don't really know exactly what it was. I can't even say for sure it was a knee. But
it's we're hearing it may have been an old football injury, just a freak kind of thing in the meniscus area.
Okay, I got you. But then obviously Savino comes in, and unfortunately he was not. I guess the bullpen was maybe not the spot for him. Tonis and Augustine were great again for Virginia, but it was kind of too little too late as Virginia failed to take advantage of some late stuff. But, obviously Florida State will get to Florida State North Carolina preview. Coach Link Jarrett said after the game, this is one of the best, if not the best, Florida State has played all year. It was one of their more complete games, and it was really great to see because it really was. The offense was very, very good. And if you're having this success without James Tibbs getting a hit, without Daniel Cantu getting a hit, you're probably in a good spot. So I'm excited for tomorrow afternoon to kind of see what Florida State or North Carolina, brings to the table. But we'll transition over. So we'll talk Florida State more, obviously, in the preview, to last night's game. Tennessee 6-1 win over North Carolina. Vance Honeycutt has the home run. North Carolina has 5 total hits. They left 6 on base, which was more than Tennessee. It's kind of a trend for these losing teams in the ACC games, just leaving a ton on. Tennessee just continues to do what Tennessee does. I mean, I've said it 1,000 times. I think it's the best team in the country. But, Nick, what were your thoughts on that North Carolina-Tennessee game yesterday?
A little surprising on the UNC side in terms of just not bringing in the runs. Like you just said, it seems like to be the trend of the ACC teams that are losing. They're getting guys on base, but they can't seem to get them through. Yeah, a little surprising. I thought they had the good pitching matchup, but it just didn't go UNC's way. Now they've kind of found themselves in this elimination game tomorrow, which is going to be very interesting. I know we're going to preview it, but I mean, these two teams haven't played each other all year. They were not on each other's schedules. But yeah, a little shocked. Tennessee, I mean, geez, their bats are just legit on fire. They're nuts.
Yeah, I mean, they have the most complete team. In Texas A&M, who we just watched here. Just really, really fun to watch. I mean, I hate how much I enjoyed being around them yesterday. I like the big Tennessee, the villain team. And, I mean, they really are fun to watch. So it's going to be interesting to see whether it's UNC or Florida State, if they can push Tennessee and actually get over the hump against them on Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon, whichever one. I think it's Wednesday afternoon. But Monty, what were your thoughts on that Carolina-Tennessee game? Nick, I didn't mean to skip you in the Virginia-Florida State. Because that was such a last minute, or not last minute, but kind of so far in the past. I try to make sure we focus on the big stuff. So I didn't mean to skip you, Nick. Sorry on that. But thoughts on the Tennessee-North Carolina game, Monty?
He meant to skip you. He told me.
Yeah, I said I'm done. Nick, I got you a nice little present. So I think Nick will forgive me for the NC State game we got him. So,
they just came out a little flat. I mean, they weren't getting any production outside of their 3 big guys. I think they accounted for 4 of the 5 hits. That being Honeycutt, Cook, and Harbor. And that's just not going to get it done against Tennessee. And Drew Beam was really, really good. But you expect them to get to this Tennessee hitting a little bit. So that's got to be really disappointing. And now they've got to turn around and try and take on a really tough Florida State team.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow's going to be fun. I saw a couple of the Carolina guys out and about in the village today. I think they're feeling pretty good about what they're going to bring to the table. So, of course, they haven't met. That's one of the few ACC matchups we haven't seen this year. So it's going to be
because of how.
Oh my gosh, Monty, you're 1,000% correct. But one of the few ones it feels like we haven't had. Is that better?
No, I'm just frustrated because, similar thing happened last year. If Wake Forest and Virginia, they didn't play each other in the regular season, they would face down in the national championship. So
true.
It's just, Texas A&M and Kentucky haven't played before, I think, either.
Not this season, yeah.
So.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, let's move on then to obviously the biggest thing of which was today's game. NC State 4, Florida 5. Man, Nick, I want your thoughts before I ask Monty. The best pitcher in today's game was Logan Whitaker. There was a debate on whether Whitaker or Fritton should start. I don't think the wrong decision was made from a going into it standpoint, but obviously hindsight 2020, not a great outing for Don Fritton. It really wasn't a terrible outing, but that second inning really got out of hand for him. Obviously, it's highlighted by the Jack Caglione 3-run bomb to make it 4-0. But what were your thoughts? I guess do you believe that Fritton was the right move going into the matchup? But then two, just kind of your thoughts on obviously the Fritton performance, but then also too, I mean, Whitaker made one mistake. He only allowed 2 hits in 7 innings. Like Whitaker was phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, coming down to the end of the season, both guys were looking really, really good, pitching their best, honestly. I mean, we go back to the last series against Wake Forest, and Dom is, going toe-to-toe through 5 innings against Chase Burns. He had a really great game against South Carolina, and then, had another hiccup against Georgia in the Supers. But Witt has been, ever since he's been back from whatever it was, flu or his surgery or whatever mysterious thing that he had, he's just been on another level. I think it was a tough call. I can't say that it was right, but I mean, in terms of sticking to the schedule of the starting rotation, Dom was the choice, obviously, hindsight 2020, you go Witt and State probably wins that game easily. But you could say the same thing. I mean, I know a lot of State fans are saying the same thing about the Kentucky game. Hindsight 2020, do you put Derek Smith in? No, I'm fine with keeping Duden in. But what was that say? Yeah, I think I said it in my mind. We should probably walk Jack here. I said it in my mind. And I knew that was going to happen. So,
it was funny, Nick, because when it happened, my first thought was you have an open base with 2 outs, and I thought, Justin, I believe, right, who was the one that just put that comment up. Ashton Wilson, who's the 3 spot, he obviously was 0 for 3 on the day. However, I did watch him come up big last week in the Clemson Super Regional, where he hit a 2-run or 3-run home run after they intentionally walked Cags.
Yeah, and I remember that.
I mean, again, like I'm not saying that like it was the right or wrong decision. I think at the end of the day, like it was so early in the game, it wasn't maybe the wrong decision. But I will say too, at the same time, Dom was not throwing his best. I mean, it wasn't like Cags was the set. Like it's not like Dom had 2 just bloop singles right for that, and then threw him a bomb because he attacked him. The first strike he threw was also a really good pitch as well. But he attacked him, and unfortunately, when Jack Caglione gets a hold of a baseball, it's a thing to behold for sure. But
yeah, that was the thing, is that I could just tell Dom's fastball he wasn't locating it right. He hit 2 batters in a row in the first inning after getting 2 quick outs. They were always high and tight or high and away, depending on which side of the batter was on the plate. But he wasn't locating very early, and that was a sign that this could be a very short lease for Dom today. But as much as you want to blame the pitching, and at the end of the day, it was a 1-run game for both games, and in both games, against the first game against Kentucky, State went 1 for 11 with runners on, and today they went 2 for 10 with runners on. And the only guy that gave them any hope was AMAC with a couple of 2-run bombs throughout the week, and that put them right back in it. But the State could not get the clutch hit, and that is what this team was defined on. Is if their pitching can't save them, the bats will be reliable. And unfortunately, the bats were just short. I mean, just short. So, timely hitting is everything, and State just did not have the timely hitting in this World Series.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and obviously I want to get Monty's thoughts too, right, is just the fact that NC State, last week in Athens, Nick, I don't remember if it was you that pointed this out or what exactly it was, but I think the best thing that I saw from NC State was the back half of that lineup was. They were flipping the lineup over like crazy. You had great days from Souls, from Nixon. Today just alone, Luke Nixon 0 for 2, Noah Souls 0 for 4, Matt Heavner, I always botch it incorrectly, so I apologize, Matt. 0 for 3. They pinch hit with Chase Nixon 0 for 1. The back half of the lineup, Alex Sosa was the only one, after the 5 spot, to record a hit. He had 2 hits on top of 2 strikeouts, but it's really frustrating too because Luke Nixon was left on base 4 times. Just 8 guys left on base. Florida only had 5 hits, and 2 of them contributed to 4 runs. But Monty, what was your thoughts? Obviously, when we watched this game, this was a very frustrating one for us to watch in the press box.
Oh, are you talking now?
Oh yeah, you can't talk, but I guess watching it, again, just frustrating.
Yeah, I feel like you guys covered it over the last 10 minutes or so. It was frustrating to watch. Runners in scoring position. First inning, you got the bases loaded, 1 out. Brandon Butterworth's able to drive in 1, but they're not able to do anything else with that, right? And Florida, on the other hand, comes up the very next half inning, top of the second, and they're able to do damage in the same situation, basically. They get a sac fly, and then Kaggs hits the home run for a 3-run blast. And that's really ultimately the difference. There was a couple of difficult issues. They go small ball with Matt Heavner. Can't remember which inning, if it was the 6th or 7th. I know it wasn't the 8th, because in the 8th he actually did execute the bunt, but they didn't execute the bunt, I think, in the 6th. And then Luke Nixon that tried to steal and was thrown out? So they got, I don't think he attempts to steal, obviously, if they get the bunt down, but that's 2 outs. Noah Souls then doesn't have much of a choice. It's 2 outs, nobody on base. But Noah Souls, we talk about his catch. The play he makes in right field, absolutely fantastic. And you got to remember, he's recovered from a broken foot and he has a hammy issue, and he makes that catch. And he was one of the guys that you could see really upset in the dugout after the game. But, Logan Whitaker, what a performance by him to put the team on his back. He only gave up the 1 earned run. Just absolutely phenomenal. I will say, I don't think it was a crazy decision to go with Dom Fritton, but I would have gone Logan Whitaker, and I said that even before the game. But I don't think it was I wasn't like, oh, that's crazy to go with Dom Fritton. I didn't think it was that much of a difference. And I don't think you can really look at it that way because they still had a good chance to win this baseball game.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a tough pill to swallow, right? Obviously people are, we're getting chirped a little bit. I'm getting chirped a little bit in the press box, obviously, if it just means less stuff, from a standpoint of SEC is, it's going to take a miracle at this point for the ACC to have a team in the championship, and especially to win it all. But, crazier things have happened, right? We saw a team last year, Nick, unfortunately, come through the losers bracket to get to the final. So maybe it's Carolina, Oregon, Florida State that can get that done. But I guess that leads us to previewing that. Tomorrow it's the 2:00 Eastern. 1:00 Central. We said Virginia, man. My brain is just wanting that so bad. North Carolina and Florida State. It's actually an ACC versus non-ACC game according to social media. But it is an ACC game for us on the show. Monty, first off, who do you think Florida State throws?
I'm checking something to see if Brett maybe had some info on that, because how Brett's the one of the best beat writers out there for State, and if anyone knew it, he would. I don't think he has anything out there. They probably talked about it on their podcast, but I haven't been able to listen to the Sunday Golds podcast yet. So, honestly, I have no idea what direction they're going to go. John Abraham is a guy that I think both of us highlighted as a guy that can step up, but that doesn't necessarily mean he gets to start. Andrew Armstrong is somebody they've gone to in these situations, and he hasn't necessarily fared well. But somebody's going to have to step up who hasn't stepped up this season. I think I had our eyes on John Abraham, but it could be Andrew Armstrong.
Armstrong would make sense because he started a lot of midweek games. I could definitely see an Army start. That might actually be the best move. I don't know why I completely forgot about him. So
I forgot about him until just
so good call.
well. I forgot about him until just now as well. So.
Andrew Armstrong, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But Nick, obviously, I'm assuming you're going to kind of be in the same boat as us. But what are your thoughts just on Florida? Because my biggest concern from an ACC standpoint is if Florida State wins tomorrow, what do they have left? Because they're going to still have to try to win 2 games against the best team in college baseball. So, I guess Nick, what are we thinking, from the standpoint of Florida State, their staff? Do you think that Florida State has what it takes not only to obviously win tomorrow, but go on a little bit run, but just obviously even solely just for tomorrow? Do you think that they have what do you think about?
They got to dig deep, man. It's going to be really tough for Florida State if they get by UNC and then try to win 2 more against Tennessee. It's going to be really tough. It's crazy how when we were previewing ACC tournaments and everything like that, I said I think Florida State's pitching staff is the deepest because you don't realize that maybe the injuries, you find something else, and Florida State found 2 other guys.
And remember, we were expecting Cam Leiter to be able to come out of the bullpen heading into the ACC tournament, and that obviously changed.
Right. And it's sort of the script has flipped where, how much depth does Florida State have left? Like you said, Micah, crazier things have happened. They have a very dangerous lineup. There's no question about that. They can compete head-to-head, bat-to-bat with Tennessee and Carolina. So it'll be interesting, but you got to dig deep here. I think you got to get Oxford. If they beat UNC, you got to get Oxford ready.
Oxford's able to go
because he
pitched in the first game. He threw. Where's that?
He threw a ton in that. Well, no, he didn't throw a ton. He got burned when he shouldn't have been, but he threw.
He threw 31 pitches. I guess. I don't remember how many he threw against.
You won't see him tomorrow. You won't see him tomorrow. But I'm saying if they win tomorrow without him,
and he's got to be like he was against Virginia and against how he was in the ACC tournament and in the regionals and super regionals. He's got to be back to form.
Right. So it's a very tough spot. UNC is definitely in a good spot right now.
Dalton Pence was not used.
Yeah.
So and for North Carolina, right?
Aiden Hall has already been confirmed.
Okay, I'm assuming we're going Aiden Hall. Yeah, so obviously that's going to be something to keep an eye on. One thing I've been curious about, from a North Carolina run standpoint, Olin Johnson's back. Do they look to potentially use him for another game if that were to occur? Because obviously you only can travel so many guys to Omaha. So it's going to be interesting. So going into it, I think the best way to predict it is to A, predict who you think is going to win, but B, predict how it's going to go. So Monty seems to be annoyed that I always, talk so much. So Monty, you get to go first. Does North Carolina or Florida State get it done? And how do you see the game playing / give me an X factor?
North Carolina is going to get the job done. No. Florida State's going to get the job done. And the X factor is going to be Jamie Arnold.
You think Jamie's going to come out of the pen?
I think so.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised. He pitched Friday night. Tomorrow's Tuesday. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
I just feel like, I keep saying this, and Monty, you've corrected me 1,000 times, and you are correct by correcting me, by the way, that I keep going, what about tomorrow? Well, there is no tomorrow if you don't win. So
yeah, ideally, I think they would love to have Jamie Arnold available for Wednesday. But if they have to go and they need somebody late to come in and shut down, I mean, look what he did against Georgia Tech. 9 pitches, and that was a bullpen session.
Very true. Very, very true. Nick, your thoughts, X Factor, how do you think the game's going to go?
I think Florida State's lineup is just a bit better than Carolina's from what we've seen in Omaha right now. I'm not going to take Monty's X Factor, but it wouldn't be the most ridiculous thing. I mean, we see major league clubs in the playoffs put starters in the bullpen and then come out and try to save a game. So it wouldn't be like the most insane thing you would ever see. I mean, I think it would be kind of smart on Florida State's hand to do that if need be. I mean, it's there, like you said, there is no tomorrow. So if you got to go Jamie Arnold, in the 8th inning in a 1-run ball game, you got to go with Jamie Arnold and then give some other guys some rest if you win. But my X factor is probably going to be the bats, because as good as Honeycutt is and the UNC lineup is, I think Florida State is just a little bit better. So we'll see how that goes. But I think Florida State's bats need to really come through to save some pitching.
But you just took all 9 bats as your X factor?
James Tibbs, then.
There we go. I was going to say, I was like, my X factor is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
My X factor is the jerseys that Florida State is going to wear tomorrow. We don't know who the home team is going to be, do we? Because both teams have been a home team.
Somebody said it in the press conference, but I can't remember the reasoning behind it, so I'm not sure. I can't remember who the home team is.
Man, I'm gonna see if I can find that.
Yeah,
I would just assume that would be the higher seed, right?
No. When they're both one, there's some complications when they get to this point. So, and they didn't explain exactly what they were. When both teams are 1-1, and it depends on how many have been home before, and so they said it in the press conference. I can't remember who it was. I was more thrown by the fact that it's a really complicated process.
Yeah.
This is
Trying to find it.
Yeah, this is a struggle. So, well, the problem is I really do think being the home team is going to be very important in this game. But I guess we'll figure that out as we go.
Give me a second. I'll just talk about something else.
I'll let Monty go ahead and talk about it. But for me, I think the X factor. I think the X factor for me is going to be. I'm so torn because, let's see, I'm going to go. You know what? We're going to do it. We're going to go Parks Harbor. Parks he was 0 for 2 against Tennessee. He was 2-4 against Virginia, something like that. He wasn't. Anyways, I think at the end of the day, right? You mentioned it, Nick, with Florida State's bats. I think you got to look at what you're going to get from Carolina. Nick, did you make a pick? I may have zoned out when you made it. Did you pick
Florida State?
You went Florida State?
Yeah, I'll pick Florida State. Yeah.
Man, you guys. So here's what I'm going to say, and this is not. I don't want to be negative about Florida State. I think it's worse for the ACC if Florida State wins. I have some question marks about Florida State's pitching, and we're talking about we need a team to go beat the number 1 team in the country twice. I don't know if Florida State can do that. I think Florida State kind of already beat them once, but unfortunately, some things out of control didn't bounce their way. But for me, I'm picking North Carolina. I do believe that the Tar Heels have what it takes. I mean, I want to take the whole North Carolina lineup too because again, yesterday was just Vance Honeycutt. There wasn't a lot of offense from North Carolina, and there wasn't a lot of offense against Virginia either. Like North Carolina really hasn't done much in Omaha yet. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of get it rolling. Again, being the home team, I think, is going to be important in this one. But it's going to be an incredible game. I'm very much looking forward to it. Monty, I hope you're going to be feeling a little bit better and can be out here. But before we wrap this up, any final thoughts? We'll go Monty first.
I just want to talk real quick about both these ACC teams that have been eliminated. Really, really fun teams to cover. And I just want to shout out Florida State. Not Florida State. They're not eliminated. I want to shout out Virginia and NC State. They fought and they clawed, especially NC State. Watching those guys, getting to see AMAC and Serrano and going to get them some dirt from the infield. And, obviously AMAC is representing almost 2 schools when he's doing that. If you think about what he did for East Carolina for 4 years or 3 years, just unbelievable. And, Avent said it in this press conference, Serrano and Butterworth, they may not be back. They may get drafted. Serrano is draft eligible. So it's going to be interesting to see, but you do have a really good core of young guys, especially on the pitching side. So it's going to be exciting to watch this NC State team. But, it's been an absolute pleasure covering NC State this year.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, I'll let you go, and then I'll kind of touch on Monty's thoughts because my closing thoughts are similar, and I have a feeling yours might be as well, Nick. But any final thoughts before we wrap this show up?
It was a very fun season for both Virginia and NC State. Virginia, we saw, a completely different type of Virginia baseball club where the bats were key, and it was cool to see the pitching come around at the right time. I mean, they had a great veteran core up in Charlottesville that, Micah, you and I kind of covered for 2 years that, it was the same names popping up all the time in that lineup, just doing damage. And it sucks that back-to-back years they couldn't pull out one win in Omaha. I don't know what it needs to change to kind of get over the hump and get back to the spotlight again like they did in 2015. But, just a special core group of vets on that Virginia squad. Especially in that lineup. And as for State, it was a great story, the redemption story, the 7 guys that were still on the team from 2021 to up to now. Logan Whitaker's story was great. Sam's story, being the freshman, star that almost saved you, and then dealing with a major surgery 2 years ago and then trying to get back and rehab last year. Quick stat, Sam is the only pitcher to have pitched in multiple College World Series for NC State. In 21, he went 7 1/3, 2 hits, 0 runs, 2 walks, and 7 Ks. And this year went 7, 6 hits, 3 earned, 2 walks, 7 Ks. Also went 3 for 4 at the dish as a freshman. So it's been a pleasure, Mayor. Watching his press conference, it was hard to watch. I wanted it for him so bad. He gave everything. These seniors gave everything for State. It was great covering them all year. It was great being back in Raleigh for the regional. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think it was tough, Nick. Monty can kind of attest, but, I didn't go to the post-game press conference. I didn't want to talk to the players after the game because, watching those guys, that video I got of AMAC in the dirt, that wasn't the only guy.
Great video, by the way.
There was tons of guys. By the way, shout out to AMAC for shaking my hand and just saying thank you, which, again, there's no need to thank us. But, just how much talking about 2 programs, the 2 teams that have been eliminated. And again, pretty much every team here in Omaha, obviously, their coaches are top-notch individuals, but it's hard to ever root against a Brian O'Connor or Elliott Avent coach team. Again, seeing Avent hug every single player on the way out, Nick, it was everybody. I cried. I'm gonna be honest, I cried. It was so damn emotional. Excuse my French.
Micah was an interesting person to be around. He was also very grumpy at times. There was a swing. He was obviously very upset. We were both very upset reacting to this, and it was just interesting to see the swings and emotion as he went through some stages of grief.
I really did. It was kind of wild, between Jake asking me to help him get Florida post game, and I'm like, I run an ACC page. I'll help you when I can. But it was again, it's just tough to see because again too, like we talked about all the guys left on base. You feel like you're just right there, man. Like we're one or two. We're a double in the gap in that first inning for NC State away from probably not even having that close of a ball game.
And Pennington when he crushed that one.
Yep. Yeah, that ball's gone at the dope, but with the wind blowing in and Omaha's dimensions, it stays in the yard. I mean, it was tough, man. And my final thoughts kind of just test to that. It was such a pleasure to cover these two teams this year. They were both really fun. Different types of seasons, right? NC State kind of had some question marks, and then they got hot at the end of the year. Virginia just continued to do what Virginia does, win in the midweeks and in the non-con series, and continued to never get really swept in ACC play. They didn't get swept in ACC play, did they, Monty?
I don't think so.
Yeah, they always found a way to find one. If not, obviously, would take the series as a whole.
Yeah, if they'd been swept, you would have been. I don't remember because you would have been.
Yeah, I would have probably been. Yeah, that's true.
The world would be falling.
Yeah,
that bridge over there in the press box view here looks kind of tempting right now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, everybody. It's just a really bad joke, but
Shout out Antonio Jimenez for his performance tonight in the Cape Cod League. I have not gotten a chance to check my top performers list yet, but I know he had a big RBI tonight.
Yeah, and that's something too. I guess we can shout that out real quick. Monty's been grinding with the Cape Cod League. I'm going to try to do probably not as well as Monty with the Appy League, but kind of keep people informed on what's going on there. And Monty and I have talked about it. Nick will loop you in, and we want to probably going to look try to go to Team USA a little bit this summer, maybe spend a day or two over in Cary. So hopefully Nick maybe can come over and join us too. We can, again, highlight some of these athletes that we've got in this conference because, my final thought, actually, I'm going to end it with this. Anyone that says the ACC doesn't belong, that the ACC is not that good, that this weekend in Omaha has proved that the SEC is the best conference in college baseball and ACC is a joke. We're not at the SEC level yet, but we are right there. Ask these SEC coaches how much they've had to struggle with the ACC. The ACC is 0-4 against the SEC. 3 of those 4 games were one-run games. We are right there with this conference. Are we better than the SEC right now? No. The results would say that it favors the SEC. And
just means more.
Yeah, it does just mean. I mean, a lot of people that have said just means more loss, by the way, Nick, like in terms of like their phone backgrounds. There's an individual here. I won't say her name, but her phone background is just means more. I mean, like, it's a thing, man. I'm telling you.
Say her name.
I actually don't remember it. That's why I didn't want to say it. But oops, that was actually supposed to not say her name. But if she somehow finds this, my bad. But it's just funny because I mean, a lot of people have said some stuff, and again, nothing like I would say over the top, but again. I'm proud of the ACC. We got 4 teams here. We still have 2 left. We're guaranteed to have at least 1 more. The good thing is one of the final 4 teams in college baseball will be ACC. It won't be 2, unfortunately, but 1 will be, which at the end of the day, we will take that. So that's going to wrap this up. Obviously, we're going to be I want to do a show tomorrow. I don't know if we will do a show, but I'd like to think we hopefully will.
Yeah,
it'll be a quick 10, 15-minute show. It won't be anything crazy, but we might decide to just make it a video and upload it onto the page.
Monty, are you leaving tomorrow morning?
I'm quarantined, man.
Yeah, he's in quarantine for now. Nick, we'll talk to you about what that means in a little bit. But
okay.
I saw Monty today, but if you can't tell, we're not in the same room.
For a second, you guys kind of have the same door in the background, so I didn't know if you were in the same room or not.
No, he's at Noah's, and I'm currently in the press box. So I can turn again and show out, but yeah, I mean, anyways, it's just kind of gonna be interesting, right? We'll hopefully if he's back in action tomorrow, we'll have him. If not, great. But. Yeah, I mean, that's going to wrap this up. Tomorrow, obviously, an AC team's going to have to win, so that's good. AC team's also going to have to lose, which sucks. But yeah, I mean, looking forward to Florida State and North Carolina tomorrow. As always, right? It means just a little bit less here in ACC country. Make sure you're following Monty. Monty's been killing it, Nick. I'm sure you've seen with just some of the content he's been putting out, and again, keeping people informed. So if you're not following Monty, see that little handle under his name, follow him, please.
Yeah, I just did the thread of all 10 NC State memes that I had. And then, so if you guys all want to look at those, you're welcome to. I also, wanted to make sure everybody got to see them all in one place, since I won't be able to be using them for the rest of this.
Did you use the one you sent in the group chat, Monty?
I did not. Nick, I hope you saw that.
If this is the last time the three of us are together while you guys are in Omaha, I just want to say you two have been killing it. I have been paying attention. Don't worry. I wish I was up there with you guys, but seriously,
I miss you, Nick. Nick, it's better when you're here, honestly.
I do miss you too, Mike.
You don't snore like Monty does.
You guys are killing it up there. You guys are doing a great job. I mean, driving up there is crazy, and you guys did it. So, great job, the both of you. You guys are doing great.
Yeah, you're gonna have some new wall decor, Nick. Actually, we'll do a quick reveal to Nick on the goodies. Let's see a live reaction. Monty, you can hop off. You don't have to watch this. If you're gonna like what I've got, actually you can't because you're running the show, so never mind. Oh, he can hit himself though. We got you a little NC State pennant for your background. I thought you need a little spruce your upper. Since you always fly every other pennant. I thought Very only nice. Appropriate shirt for you, Nick. The Oma pack.
There, thank you. I love that. Love it.
I figured if you're not here, the one thing you're going to want to remember is how you're going to be back in Omaha this time next year, which, again, we'll do a season debrief when it's all said and done. But I'm sure if we do a way too early ACC power ranking for next year, I think NC State might be near the top. So,
yeah. Anyways,
that's going to wrap this up. Nick, thank you for hopping on. I know we kind of gave you hey, we're coming on, but then never told you when. But
yeah.
Anyways, as always, it means just a little bit less here at ACC country, and go ACC.